Hello there, you're now with me, Shol Shamiato, for TVS News at 5. Let's begin with this story. A few days have passed since Langkawi was announced as the first travel bubble in Malaysia. Many speculated that the next travel bubble to be activated is Sarawak. But are our tourism key players ready to accept tourists? Let's get some insights from our reporter, Muhammad Yusof.
Thank you, Cheryl. Now, as you may know, Langkawi has seen great success since it was activated as the first travel bubble in Malaysia, receiving about 3,200 domestic tourists just last Thursday. Some 2,200 tourists traveled via air, while the remainder traveled by land and ferry. Now, we've had inputs from major tourism key players right here in Sarawak on how well prepared they are to, receive tourists if Sarawak is to be designated as the next travel bubble. Let's hear it from them.
So in terms of preparedness, I think Sarawak, we are prepared because in Malaysia, Sarawak has one of the highest vaccination rates, and all our stakeholders, our tourism players, from those in the hotels, employees in the hotels, restaurants, our guides, our tourism agencies, the drivers, and all, they have been vaccinated. Understand as well that our Sarawak Ministry of Tourism is actually keenly observing what is happening in Langkawi. And in terms of packages in Sarawak, we have our Siasito, actually is in version 2 now. Siasito version 1 was very successful. So just if you are not aware, Siasito is actually a whole range of domestic packages throughout Sarawak, from the southern region right up till the Limbang. Now that the mandatory quarantine for people coming from West Malaysia has been lifted, I mean, those with two jabs, as long as they've had 2 vaccinations, they do not have to go through the mandatory 14-day quarantine. So that actually is a great help. And I think that will also encourage a lot of visitors from West Malaysia to come to Sarawak.
Audrey added that the Sarawak Tourism Federation is constantly in touch with the state's tourism ministry to provide feedback from the private tourism industry players. If issues arise, the ministry will engage with industry players. She also explained that several guidelines made by the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) were difficult, but nonetheless was implemented to contain the virus from spreading.
So of course, this is the new norm. People have to get used to it, and we have to ensure that we comply with the new procedures. People don't like change, but we have to do it. So.
Meanwhile, for the director of Amoga Tours and Travel, Ashwin Narayanan, travel agencies are ready to accept tourists.
Number one, I would say that we are sort of actually 80% ready, because especially the agents in Sarawak are a little bit more blessed. We had this program called Siasito Sarawak. I think a lot of you might be aware of that. Only temporarily, it's been sort of put on hold due to all the SOPs and the COVID cases and stuff like that. But in essence, we have already sort of been operational for domestic travel. So automatically, when we are opening our doors for those from West Malaysia or outside of Sarawak to come into Sarawak to travel, most of the players are sort of kind of ready already. Our most of our resources are sort of on standby, and we've learned to be very, how to say, very lean in order to streamline lah. Of course, and we understand that we do have to follow these rulings and follow how we go about this first. But there was a little bit of a struggle for us to sort of find the right balance when we were first given the SOPs, and at the same time that we were already told to start activating and running the the CRC tours, which are internal, which are within Sarawak itself. And it's not that it caused any bad repercussions. In fact, safety first, it was good. It was probably good to not create more potential clusters by opening the doors for travel and stuff like that. But at the same time, that we just felt that the tourism sector or the tourism industry, especially the industry players, knowing that during the pandemic we are very very much struggling, obviously, every days. So we're still trying to find ways to stay relevant and stuff like that. So during times like this, understanding our difficulties probably is a good thing to also have something of a discourse or a discussion with the stakeholders and the industry players as well.
As for Oscar Chu, the deputy chairman of Sarawak's Malaysian Association of Tours and Travel Agents, MATA, there is a need to revamp the current tourism SOPs.
Our SDMC has done an excellent job in protecting the interests of the state. However, we do need to revamp our current tourism SOP to be more friendly and effective at the same time. It needs to suit not just current needs, but also when the tourism sector eventually reopens and when Sarawak is pursuing the travel bubble program. Okay, we would like to be part of their team to collaborate, and then also to perhaps make up, to be the team which helps to implement the SOP. Because on their part itself, I'm pretty sure they will not understand the current needs and wants of the travel industry. At the end of the day, we want to ensure the recovery of the tourism and business events industry while socially ensuring that both sectors are organized responsibly.
Muhammad Yusuf Shukri for TVS.
Sarawak Pay merupakan sebuah aplikasi dompet elektronik atau e-dompet yang semakin popular kini kerana ia adalah pantas, selamat dan mudah untuk digunakan. Sarawak Pay memudahkan pembayaran tanpa perlu mengeluarkan wang tunai. E-dompet ini dijamin selamat kerana ia diselia oleh Bank Negara Malaysia. Ia bukan sahaja e-dompet pertama di Sarawak, tetapi juga e-dompet pertama yang dilaksanakan di Malaysia oleh sebuah kerajaan negeri. Penggunaan e-dompet dijangka akan menjadi pembangkit keuangan pada masa depan dari segi pengurusan wang serta transaksi yang selamat dan pantas. Inisiatif ini merupakan salah satu langkah strategik bagi memacu Sarawak ke arah ekonomi digital.
Hai semua, jangan lupa saksikan Inspirasi TVS, segmen berita yang mengetengahkan laporan berkaitan rakyat, hiburan serta topik trending.
Inspirasi TVS dan saya Melissa Francis.
Saya Hairi Francis.
Saya Dewi Liana Suryasta.
Dan saya Tony Yusof.
Saya Bob Yusof akan menemani anda.
Dan saya Mahmud Ali Bashar.
Dan saya Nana Shimi.
Dan saya Andin Indrawani.
Saya Karen Libau.
I believe that if anyone has the longing to explore a new experience and craft in life, one must take that chances and see where it leads you. You may excel, and you may also hit the wall in the process, but the lessons learned will be the greatest teacher. Let the Miriam and Sarawakian have more healthier pet in bakery.
Welcome back. In adherence to that, Malaysian lawmakers will be discussing the possibility of allowing interstate travel to boost the domestic tourism as part of its effort to expedite the recovery of the country's tourism industry. And that once a decision is reached in Parliament, the matter will be announced by the Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry.
Bila interstate itu dibuka, maka orang luar boleh masuk juga. Kita telah senaraikan. Okay, we have listed down nama-nama destinasi bukan saja pulau, termasuk mainland tu macam Genting, Cameron, Highlands, Fraser's Hill dan juga apa-apa lagi destinasi yang boleh menarik minat orang untuk bergerak, sebab pelancongan is all about mobility dengan izin. Apabila mereka bergerak, maka ekonomi kita juga boleh meningkat. Itu yang kita nak.
Nancy added few other destinations will be listed under interstate tourism nationwide. She was responding to a supplementary question from Syed Sadiq Syed Abdul Rahman, Independent Muar, who asked the government to open up more domestic travel bubbles and not only focusing on resort islands to assist industry players affected by COVID-19. So far, the government has allowed intrastate tourism activities for states under Phase 2 and above of the National Recovery Plan for fully vaccinated individuals, while the Langkawi Domestic Tourism Bubble pilot project started on September 16.
On the other hand, the supply of COVID-19 vaccine for the booster dose and national COVID-19 adolescent immunization program is adequate, as priority for the administration of the third dose will be given to high-risk groups, to include healthcare frontliners, immune-compromised individuals, the elderly with comorbidities, and those working at long-term healthcare facilities.
Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the details on the booster shot program will be announced in 1 or 2 weeks' time. When asked if a booster dose is required for the single-dose CanSino vaccine, Khairi said CanSino had submitted an application to the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency, NPRA, stating the possible need for a second dose after 6 months. He added there is no problem in procuring CanSino and Sinovac vaccine for booster doses, as the bottling plant is based in Malaysia. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry MOH would monitor data from other countries using the CanSino vaccine to get further information on the need of a booster dose after 6 months. On plans to vaccinate children below 12 years of age, Khairi said several companies had sent clinical trial information for children under 12, but so far, the MPRA has not approved any vaccine for the age group.
Meanwhile, a total of 5,887 students aged between 12 to 17 at schools in military camps nationwide will be vaccinated starting today. The vaccination was part of the Back to School vaccination program in support of the National COVID-19 immunization program for adolescents.
Senior Defence Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein said the first school to execute the program is Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Desa Tun Husainon in Kuala Lumpur. 255 Form 4 and Form 5 students received their first dose, while the remaining 675 students will receive theirs by Thursday. 4 other schools in military camps, namely the Mara Junior Science College and SMK Camp Terendak in Melaka, SMK Pangkalan TLDM in Perak, and SMK Tanjung Pengeleh in Johor, will carry out the program in stages at nearby vaccination centre or PPV. The Back to School vaccination program is a joint effort between the Defence Ministry and Ministry of Education MOE, meant specifically for students in military camps. Its ultimate goal is to build immunity among 3.2 million adolescents aged 12 to 17 nationwide.
And that concludes TVS News at 5. For more updates, don't forget to tune in to our 11:30 Nightline tonight. Here with me, Shol Shameto, and I'll see you tonight. Have a good evening.